Always busy doing something with activities, you know, we had a lot of friends playing ball. And then I got involved into the local boys club when I was 12 and I started playing trumpet.
Trumpet.
So from there I played trumpet for a couple of years.
Why did you choose the trumpet? What made you go towards the trumpet?
You know what?
Did you hear somebody or some song or something?
Yeah, you know what? I don't remember. That's a good question. I think because in the boys club, that was one of the, you go from being in the bugle corps, you know, to then, if you do well on bugle, you go to trumpet. So that's kind of, I was in the drum of bugle corps and then we went to trumpet. I don't think it was something I consciously chose.
You just wanted to try music and you went towards it.
That's a good question. I wish I could remember as to why.
During the time that you were growing up in with your family in your house, was there music being played?
Well, there was always, my brothers and sisters, there was the music of the times, which was, a lot of dances, local dances, and my older brothers and sisters used to listen to who was popular at the time, Willie Colon and Hector Lavoe.
Oh, they were listening to Latin music back then?
Yeah, sure, Eddie Palmieri, the whole Boogaloo era,
right,
what I mean?
What about soul music or
they listened to that, but not as much. We would listen to pop stations and the groups that were real popular at the time, like the Four Seasons. I remember listening to them a lot. Right.
What about your parents? Would they?
No, my parents weren't into music at all. My father, though, I remember him laying on the couch and listening to classical music. Just like nodding out.
Yeah. What about
other than that, he didn't like Latin music.
So you were already listening to hit music, let's say Latin music, because of your brothers, your siblings.
Right, I was listening to the salsa of the time.
Oh, cool.
And then when I was 14, I got the piano. We got the piano where I lived because my brother was the superintendent of the building we lived in.
Right.
And he fixed the basements up, and painted them and made them real nice. And they gave him a piano, and I started playing.
Now, when you say you started playing the piano, do you remember what you started picking out on the piano?
I started like, things that I heard on the records, like a lot of Eddie Palmieri things.
Right away you were trying to imitate
exactly.
that?
Right, I would just try and pick up those things and go, and after a while, I would get tips from certain people who knew, like there was one guy who knew a little thing and he would teach me a little thing and I go, oh wow, let me see that, how does that go? So
some of the people you were hanging out with were into music also.
Exactly. So they kind of had an influence on me. But when I played trumpet when I was 12, and he was a great teacher. And
do you remember the things he was teaching you, or?
Yeah, he was teaching me, the fundamentals of trumpet and reading and stuff like that. And I remember him saying, "Oh, this kid's gonna be good." But after like a year and a half, I didn't have the lip. I think there's something. Some people have it physically, have the gift to play it. A brass instrument is not easy.
Tough. Yeah.
So, and some people have that naturally, and I didn't. So I remember him telling me, oh, look, maybe you should switch the saxophone to the piano.
Yeah, right.
And it was kind of convenient. Maybe it was fate, the fact that they gave my brother a piano who was a super of the building, and I automatically gravitated towards the piano.
When did you actually take a piano class?
Well, then I started playing by ear when I was about 16 or 17. I was playing with local bands.
Even without taking?
Right. And then I remember saying to myself, well, man, I got to study with somebody. So I met this pianist who was out there playing. He used to come to the house.
Oh, you mean a musician?
He was a musician. He was a pianist. He played with a couple of the local bands.
Do you remember his name?
His name was George Gould. And George was a very bright guy who was into a lot of different types of music. And I found this out later. He was also a heroin addict.
Whoa. Yeah.
Who actually died of it a few years later. But
he gave you the first classes.
Right. He used to come to the house, and because I don't remember why he used to come to the house, but he was always an interesting character. And just he was a natural influence on me, and an interesting character. And and just, you know, he was a natural influence on me, and I think initially.
When he was giving you tips or ideas of what to do on the piano, did he give you specific? Do you remember specific?
No, he would just talk in general about different things, and I would hear him just, you know.
But not that try it this way,
no,
nothing
he would
like
just throw different ideas about this and about classical music and about this, and I would listen, and I didn't realize all that, you know, I was absorbing all of this.
Right.
And then I studied with him formally. I actually took lessons and paid him. I remember the first lesson I took, he was nodding out.
Oh, wow.
I was about 16 or 17 at the time.
So I didn't go too far.
Yeah, so, but nevertheless, he was an influence. And then after that, I studied with a real good teacher who was recommended by a couple of people. His name was Nick Rodriguez. He was an old gentleman who was classically trained, who played a lot of different styles of music, but had a good had good technique and could teach me about the technique of playing the piano correctly. So, and then I realized that was really important because I was listening to Eddie Palmieri and listening to certain things, and I was playing the piano, but I was playing it the wrong way. You know.
What is the wrong way, man?
Well, thinking that I had to play strong and thinking that you have to bang on the piano to, you know, whereas opposed to this guy, says technique. No, you have to relax, and I'm gonna relax. You know, it's like what? You know, and then I had people on the other side telling me, no, to be a strong piano player, a Latin piano player, you got to play strong. So this guy was the opposite. He was telling me, no, you know what I mean?
Different school of thought, yeah.
Well, he knew how it went, how to play the piano technically correct.
Right.
So that's when it made me aware, just, you know, the click went in my mind of like, oh, how do I get to that point?
Beforehand that you said if I want to continue with this, I'm going to have to get down and do some studying and practicing.
Right, because I never really studied formally with anybody, and I just say, well, look, I mean, I got to find out how this really goes, or what am I doing, or how do I get to the next level, or something.
I read that one of the first people that you auditioned for was Joey Pastrana, and you blew it.
Well, I didn't blow it. It was I was playing with a local band that we had. They got to record a band called La Conquistadora, and the trombone player was playing with Joey Pastrana, who was already established, had done a few albums, he had done a few records, and he had veteran musicians in his band. So he told me, look, hey, Joey needs a piano player. I said, really? He says, yeah, come with you, why don't you do it? Yeah, right. So I went to a gig, and I had no experience, you know, I didn't know.
But you were playing already?
I was but I was real green. I never really sat down and read a piano music with a band. Right. So in that sense, I screwed it up, you know, and I remember Chivirico Davila was singing, was going, no, that's not the way it goes. So I told Joey, look, you know, give me the music, I'll take it home and I'll learn it.
Right.
Go sit down.
Why did Joey give you a shot at it?
Well, I guess he figured, you know, he heard that I had potential, you know what I mean? And he needed somebody, and probably, you know, hey, this is somebody young, or I could maybe pay a few extra dollars less, you know, who knows?
Yeah. Now, the important thing is when he gave you that music and you took it home.
Yeah, I took it home.
What did you do with it?
Well, I mean, I learned it the next day, and I played with him for like probably at least a year, 2 years.
The next day?
Well, then I played with him from then after for a year, you know, or however long I played with him.
When you took that music home, you started reading it.
Well, I took it home and studied it and learned it, you know what I mean? And he had records so I can reference to it, you know what I mean? So I can reference the music and learn it. And bottom line is, the next time he called me, I came in and I did the job. Actually, at that time, it was probably 1971, 72, probably 72. Then I was friendly with a few musicians. I got friendly with Joe Santiago, who was playing with Larry Harlow at the time, Ismael. Then Ismael started to go on his own. He was going to form his band, leave Larry Harlow, and he had a piano player. As a matter of fact, I think he had tried out that guy George Gould we spoke about it. George didn't work out for whatever reason.
Right. Well, it's probably nodding out,
Yeah, and George and Joe told me, look, he's looking for a piano player, and I said, and it was turned out to be a real good move for me because, you know, Ismael then became the hottest band at the time. I mean, if you go that far back, La Revelación was the hottest band at the moment.
Right. I still have that album, the White Album.
Right. We used to work all the time, and people loved him, and he was like the Mark Anthony of his day, I guess.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Now, well, all these guys that you were playing with or hanging out with.
Which boggles my mind when I think it's 30 years ago, man.
Were you neighbors? Were you close by?
Yeah.
Did you live close by?
I think we all more or less lived in the Bronx. So we all live within a couple of miles of each other. Most of us, I don't remember exactly all of us, but I remember Joe lived near me, Nelson lived near me, Nicky lived not that far from me. He was in the Bronx. Maya lived in the Bronx. He lived near me.
So it was natural for you to be walking down the street and be bumping into these guys.
Kind of, yeah.
During after this, that's when the Grupo Folklórico experience or the idea was coming about?
Well, I'm not sure of the exact chronology of it, but Grupo Folklórico happened, I think, this was 73.
Right.
Grupo Folklórico, I think, was 76.
76.
You know?
I'm not sure about the year.
I'm not sure.
But the reason I bring this up is because of what you had said about how the album came about. And it was, I think, the way you stated it was that you hanging out with Mael and all these other musicians used to go over to Renee's house and just listen to music.
Well, the main guys who really, at that time, were Andy and Jerry Gonzalez, because they lived in a private house, lived upstairs, and they had the apartment downstairs. So we used to go hang out at Andy and Jerry's house and play music till 4, 5, 6 in the morning.
Make all the noise you want, yeah.
Right, exactly. And Andy had a huge record collection, and he was very, very, I mean, when I think about it now, really generous about turning everybody on to like all kind of different music. He was into jazz, he was into Brazilian music, he was into, you know, all type of Latin music. And then I met Rene Lopez through him, who obviously is a Cuban historian or musicologist. And he lived not too far, and I remember going to Renee's house, and he would turn us on to all the old Cuban stuff, and that had an important impact on me, because I would go, oh wow, listen to this, and I really got a picture.
Now, when you say, oh wow, listen to this, you could look at it. You could look at one thing from different angles, or you could listen to one thing from differently. You could listen to it for the enjoyment of the piece, or you could listen to it because you want to study it and you want to take it apart. How were you listening to this?
Well, both. I mean, first reaction is to completely enjoy what you were listening to, going, holy wow, that's great, man. What is that? And then what it really did was gave me a clear concept of how the music evolved, how it got to where we were at that particular time. You know, because he was playing all the old stuff and the evolution of the music, and so you got to see a clear picture.
Right.
And I guess that had a really big impact on me, and I think on a lot of us. So that clique of musicians, which was at that time, which was like Andy and Jerry and Nelson Gonzalez, Joe Santiago, Nicky Marrero, Charlie Santiago, and a bunch of other people, Frankie Rodriguez, Milton Cardona.
Right.
We used to get together on occasion and jam in Andy's house, and we were all friends. So out of that association with Rene was how the concept for Grupo Folklórico came about.
When Andy or even yourself, when you used to put a record down or an LP to listen to it because you wanted to study it. Now, back in those days, we're talking about old record players or whatever. Maybe somebody had a nice one, whatever. But how were you going about listening to a 4-minute piece or a 3-minute piece? Were you going taking the needle and putting it back and listen to it again and going back and listening to it again over and over?
I don't remember those details.
No. Well, you didn't listen to Eddie Palmieri's one of his songs, and you say, and right away you had it in your head, right?
No, no. You kidding? We used to have to listen to it over and over.
Over and over again.
So, but after a while, I mean, you knew it. I mean, I used to sing all of Barry's solos because they were classics.
Right.
And even Eddie's solos were classic to me.
Yes.
They were all so melodic and so right and so...
I do that myself, and I'm not a musician.
Exactly.
My next question is going to be kind of new. Do you practice today?
Today?
Yeah.
No, unfortunately I didn't have time today because I had to run out.
No, not today. I mean now in the present.
In the present? Yeah. Well, I'm practicing more than I was for a while, but sometimes I get so busy where I don't have time to practice because or energy. You know, because when you get to a certain age, you know, energy is important. So I usually try and get up in the morning because I do get up very early in the morning. And at least practice, if nothing else, half hour, 45 minutes.
Ah, so you do practice it.
Yeah.
What do you practice?
Well, I always practice my scales and arpeggios, and I always try and play a couple of Bach inventions. Or,
try to create something?
no, it's not usually a creative time because creative time for me is spent when I have to sit down and write.
So you know, you have a set idea already what you're going to practice and how you're going to practice it.
Kind of, yeah.
How will you handle the scales?
Huh?
How will you practice the scale nowadays? If you're loosening up or anything like that?
Well, you practice the scales to loosen up and to get your fingers right, prepared, especially when I'm thinking, well, I got to play tonight and I want to try and sound pretty good. So that motivates me more than anything when I have to play a job. But I always try and practice some because if I don't practice for 2 or 3 days, I think more than anything it affects you physically, but also mentally too. You don't feel like I'm really prepared. I've often thought in the past that maybe I should quit music because I don't devote enough time to it to really play on the level that I like to play, that I'm capable of playing. Although obviously people say, man, you accomplish so much and you play great and all of that. But I've never really devoted a lot. In other words, I've never sat there and practiced feverishly for 2 years for 8 hours a day. I've never done that. I never could do that. Never could see myself doing that.
At what point did you say, hey, maybe I can make a living at this?
Well, I never said that to myself, but I've always been doing that.
You've always been doing it?
Yeah, I've lived off music since I was 17 years old.
Have you ever had any other job?
Never.
No McDonald's, no
well, when I was 16,
bodega, anything like that?
When I was 16, the only other job I had was a stock boy at Lord & Taylor.
Oh, Lord & Taylor.
Right. That's the only thing. Other than that, I've been strictly, and I say this, knock on wood, I feel very blessed that I am, I've been able to make a living off of music all these years.
So no conscious decision. I think I can make a living at this. It just happened, and you kept
Exactly,
going.
it just happened.
And never look back.
I mean, there's been times, I gotta say, where I thought maybe I can't make a living at this. Because when work gets really slow. As a matter of fact, just before I got called to do the cake man, I was thinking, oh man, I should go back and get my master's degree, my teaching certificate so I can teach because, you know, you get kind of scared that you're not going to be able to make enough. And now, a few years later, I realized that that's just part of the process.
Part of the process, yes. The cycle.
Things get slow, and they get slow. Now, when they get slow, I kind of, try and enjoy it. I mean, my natural tendency would be to get depressed about it.
Right. Yeah, when's the next job?
Yeah, because you start kind of panicking, and I just realized that I'm good at what I do, and I'm going to be able to, work off my talent, I guess.
You ever consider publishing your own music in books as another avenue of business-wise? I've
done it. Yeah, my music exists, and I'm with 32 Publishing. They publish a lot of my arrangements, and I'm with She Music, who publish my songs in their book. So, and I make money off that. I mean, I'm not getting rich off it, but
it's something.
Yes, exactly.
When you're relaxing, you listen to music?
You know what? Not as often as I'd like. Sometimes.
Or when you're driving?
Well, yeah, when I'm driving, well, I'm a big sports fan, so I listen to the fan.
Oh, yeah.
But after a while, I go, what the hell am I listening to this crap for, man? I just, you know.
You talking about the music or the sport?
No, the sports show.
Oh.
I listen to the fans, the sports fan,
Yeah.
the show. And after a while, it sounds like it drives me nuts. I just got to turn it off and put on some music.
What station you listen to?
Well, you know what? I'll go from listening to what's on La Mega
To Motown,
to
oldies?
no, I listen to La Mega and then I go from there to BGO to CD 101.9 or the other station Latino Mix.
Right.
And once in a while I listen to PAI Talk Radio. There's nothing like an acoustic instrument. There's nothing. With all the great replicas of acoustic pianos, and there are some really great ones now, there's something about the feel of an acoustic piano. When you sit down in a studio and play a 7-foot grand or 6'3" Steinway B, that you can't duplicate. It hasn't been duplicated to my. I think anybody will tell you the same thing in place.
What pianos do you own? Or what instruments do you own?
I have a Yamaha C3 brand downstairs, and I have a weighted controller keyboard called a Roland PF8, and I have a Roland XP50 that I use when I play gigs.
That's the one you carry at one instead of carrying one, the grand one.
Yeah, it's real light and it's got a pretty good sound.
Do you have any favorite songs?
No, I can't say I do. I wish there was. No.
From yours or from others? Same thing.
No, I can't say there's one song that
No.
I sit there and go, wow. I mean, on any given moment, I could hear a song and go, wow, incredible.
Right.
What a beautiful song. Yesterday I was listening to a song by Isaac Delgado, tribute, I forgot the name of the song, and I'm wondering who wrote it, because it's such a beautiful song. It's a tribute to song, just to the idea of a song, canción.
Or instrumental or?
No, it's lyrics.
Lyrics?
And it just going, what an amazingly beautiful song. And then recently I recorded a record, I produced a record where we recorded I'm a Fool to Want You. What's the other song? For All We Know. I mean, I heard those songs, I went, God. And then when we recorded Mírame Más,
The original?
Tú me acostumbraste.
Yeah.
And I went,
Oh, yes.
man, what I mean,
Those are
you know,
classics,
so
yeah.
depending on the moment, when you're hearing it, you just go, what an amazing, I mean, incredible. So,
excuse me, main three musicians that really stand out in your mind, or that you really admire
well,
in the Latin music scene?
Oh, in the Latin music
Yes.
scene?
That you could look at it and say, coño,
Well, Papo Luca.
yeah.
I mean, Papo Luca, I could say without, he's just an amazing talent, you know. He plays the music with incredible feeling and technique. So he's got everything. He's got technique, he's got feeling, he's got soul. And I don't emulate anybody because I never sit down and copy anybody. But if I had to say, I wish I could play like somebody, and kind of I have some things that he doesn't have, so I kind of like, you know. But if I had to play like somebody, it would be him. It would be Papo Luca.
What about somebody else, another instrument, different instrument?
On a different instrument? Well, when you listen to percussionists like Giovanni Hidalgo, which now there's a lot of replicas of him, but when he first came out,
Yes, yeah, I remember.
it's pretty amazing. You know, I mean, when I first heard him, I was doing a concert in Puerto Rico with Dave Valentin. He showed up to sit in with us with a little conga this big. And I just went, what the hell's he going to play with that? And Dave stopped the band, and he started playing, and I just went, because I mean, he's amazing.
Yeah.
So, as far as, but I mean, then there are people like, I mean, I didn't go to every instrument, you know. I played the other day with Chocolate. Chocolata's getting older now, but man, what? Chocolata
It's
just,
the technique.
just his style is, I mean, he's got a sound. It's just, he's like silk.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how to explain it, you know. And there's a lot of guys like that. When you talk about Cachao on the bass, or Bobby Rodriguez as bass players, you know, Barry Rogers, you know, I mean, those are people that just, I go, wow.
What advice would you give to someone starting out wanting to learn Latin piano or salsa piano?
Well,
Where would you point them to?
well, I would say to always study, to look to study with somebody, and to be as open-minded. I mean, I don't think I was, when I was young, I was open-minded. I closed myself off to a lot of music because I was a little bit maybe egotistical about certain things, you know what I mean? You're kind of maturing and you don't realize a lot of things about life till you get older.
Yeah.
But be as open-minded, absorb as much music as possible, and study with a lot of different people to get, you know, the best of all worlds, I would say. And listen, and follow your heart as far as the music you love, you know, because it's not, I mean, it's no great, to me it's not, there's no great mystery about it, it's just, you know.
In your point in time right now, is there something you've been wanting to achieve, some goals that you're aiming towards right now or working towards?
You know what? I wish I were a different person, and I got angry at myself for not being, for saying, oh, I have a goal. You know what I mean? I just don't. You know, my goal is to keep working at my craft, and to do more of it, to get more projects. And obviously, I think I've built enough of a reputation where people know if they're calling me, they're getting a certain level of quality already. That's, you know, top shelf. So I feel like that I need to getting those top shelf calls and even more. I mean, there's no reason why, because even at my time, in my time, I'm still doing things that I'm paying my dues. You know what I mean? And I kind of feel like
that never ends.
Well,
right?
it never ends, but it'd be nice to get to a point where you don't have to.
If you could go back and you had your, you would have a wish of changing one thing.
Well, the only thing, I don't know if I would change one thing. I would probably say that I wish I had more patience and more discipline.
Would that be your regret?
Yeah. Well, I don't think I have any regrets, but I mean, looking at my flaws, my biggest thing is I don't have patience. And by the same token, I gotta say that's one of the things that really drives me. You know what I mean?
Now?
Well, it really drives me because when I get in, I'm full steam ahead, you know what I mean? And I tear everything in my way to get to where I'm going. And it's a character flaw, but at the same time, it's what drives me. So it's.
Well, that is a good trait, especially in the business sense of it, because if you're going to be hired and then somebody wants something to be done, you're the man that's going to go in there and pile drive and get it done, whereas someone else might sit back. So.
Right, exactly. So, but I wish I had more patience about things. I mean, I'm trying to be more patient now, I think. I'm trying not to jump to conclusions or jump or fly off the handle, you know what I mean, where I would before. Now I try to assess things and try to think, and even more discipline and patience about practicing, because it's hard for me to sit there, you know, it's like I was talking to you about the computer, to sit there in front of the computer and wait till it changes to, I can't. I just, you know, that's the worst thing I hate about it, that it's not instant.
I guess you're not too much into meditation, right?
Well, you know, that's one of the things I want to get into, because I feel that's one of the things I need in my life. And I've been reading toward that, and I've been reading, you know, trying to read books, and, you know, I read the Deepak Chopra books, which are very enlightening.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
In terms of me getting more spiritual, because I think the older you get, you need to really become in tune with that, you know. So, and that's one thing I pray for patience and for spirituality, and like I said, in my case, I can look at my mother who's 87, and she's, to this day, I mean, I see some of the same traits, and it scares me.
Yes.
I go, man, I hope I don't.
Oh yes, yes.
I hope I don't get that way when I'm old.
Yes, we turn into that. And in a few words, how would you describe Oscar, the adolescent in school?
The adolescent?
If you was to see yourself, go back and say, and you describe, how would you describe yourself?
I think I was, well, I was so shy. It's one thing I wish I wasn't. I don't know what makes people shy to this day.
Yeah.
Maybe it's an insecurity, it's a fear. But I was so shy when I was young, it was ridiculous. You know, I would literally be, I mean, a girl would approach me, I would literally run. And I wish,
I can relate to that.
well, I wish I wasn't that way. I mean, there's no sense to be that way, but you know, you are what you are. But I think that if you're not like that, you expose yourself to more, to people, to life, to, you know what I mean, what the world has to offer, as opposed to closing yourself off. And that's one thing as an adolescent that I was that I wish I wasn't. You know?
How would you describe the mature man? Ambitious, strong-headed?
Believe it or not, I'm still somewhat shy, although now you get over it to a good extent. I'm not ambitious in terms of material things. I try to be very diligent and professional in my craft, which is music, and very careful that I do things, that it's important to me to do things the right way. In other words, do the right thing. It's important for me to do it all the time. That's not to say that it always happens, but you know, I think we all, when you get older, you want to say, I did things where I wanted to do them, and that's all there was. What else can you ask, you know?